And we're back. Welcome to the Mom Podcast. I just want to give a quick shout out to all the mom members that are crushing it in Miranda, especially Alum, or pretty much dominating the top 10 on every competition. So shout out to all you guys. But today we're going to be talking about Star Atlas. We're bringing my favorite Web3 gaming CEO, the greatest Web3 gaming CEO, the most resilient Web3 gaming CEO. His name is Michael Wagner. Welcome back.
Always great to be here with you, Virtuwul. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and we always bring you back when there's a lot of updates, and there has been a ton of updates since the last podcast that we did. We're going to be showing some incredible UE5 footage today, which you released yesterday, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. So very excited for that, and we're going to be talking about some, again, just some monster releases. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about ZINK. Michael, first of all, what is ZINK? Why ZINK? And what can ZINK do for people?
Yeah, well, ZINK is an SVM L1 with a digital identity wrapper, kind of bunch of acronyms and buzzwords in there, but essentially SVM is the Solana virtual machine. So we're using the code base of Solana itself, and we're building our own blockchain using that technology. We have been and still are big proponents and advocates of the technology that Solana is building. We think it's best in class, and the metrics would really demonstrate that Solana is biggest in growth, in innovation and development, in app developers, in users and transactions. So again, we deeply believe in the technology that Solana is building, and the numbers prove that our thesis on that, going all the way back to 2020, was correct. L1 is the blockchain side, and the digital identity wrapper leverages our player profile primitive, which we've rebranded into Z profile, and that gives us on-chain digital identity with status, reputation, and historical references that we can build confidence around the true individuality of an on-chain person, that they're a real person. And pretty excited about what we're building there. Now, as you know, we built this largely out of necessity. This was to resolve some outstanding problems that we had at the beginning of 2025 with respect to network reliability and performance, and transaction fees, and how that negatively impacted Star Atlas users. And so we spent the better part of our year preparing, planning, and launching ZINK, and now going into the ZINK origin season and airdrop campaign.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about just some context. So when you released Sage, which was the first real version of the 4X strategy game in Star Atlas, I don't think you guys anticipated how much transaction volume would occur. I think at our peak, we were what, 10, 12% of all Solana volume, something like that.
But it hit as high as 20% at one
Wow.
point. Yeah, and it was averaging 17% for a while. Now we're about 1 to 2% today, so it's down substantially, and that's a combination of just to be
trashy meme coins.
Well, yeah. So two sides. One, you have a lot more activity happening natively on Solana right now. So there was an increase in activity on Solana, and then there was a decrease in activity specifically from the Star Atlas side. So we're a bit lower, but considering how much is happening on Solana right now for a single application with relatively low users to be consuming or producing, depending on how you want to think about it, 1 to 2% of all transactions on that network is still very impressive.
No, it is. And something that's worth highlighting that I think a lot of people are not aware of, Sage is the only true Web3 game where every movement, mining, transport, crafting, all of these actions are on chain. I mean, that's such a massive innovation. And then we're going to get into C4 in a minute, but that's going to probably be like a 50 or 100x in terms of the complexity, all the new programs you guys have built. So, kudos to you guys. I feel like you guys don't get enough compliments and just acknowledgement for building a true Web3 game. I mean, almost every game that's been built is Web 2.1 to 2.5, where you buy an NFT and you're really playing a Web 2 game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, I'm not familiar with every single product or project out there, so there are some other call it studios that are trying to build more natively on chain, but I I do think it would be fair to say that we are the most sophisticated fully on chain gaming architecture and backend game server that exists today. And rather than comparing ourselves or benchmarking ourselves against other studios, I just want to make note of why that is important. And it goes all the way back to our original ethos and philosophy of building a truly decentralized cyber nation and player owned game. And this also ties into the forever game concept, as well as this narrative around stop killing games. Jacob, our CTO, often brings this up, but there's this whole movement where traditional studios would shut down games because they just weren't profitable for them anymore, which makes
Mhm.
sense from a business standpoint. They stopped running the servers, and players, have a desire to still engage in that game that they loved so much. Well, in our case, there's never a moment where the servers are shut down, unless, of course, Solana were somehow to disappear. Then that would be true. But the point is, we as a studio don't even have the ability to shut the game down because these are permanent on-chain programs that live on Solana. They will live on forever. And that's true whether automata's are around, whether uh, like whether we're around or not. Those game systems live on Solana, and anybody can interact with those at any point in the future to whatever extent Solana's around. So we truly are building this forever universe that will never disappear, that can a legacy of which can be continued on forever.
I just want to show the Zinc website. Um, and let's talk about the airdrop because obviously this is what people are probably the most excited about. So you guys are doing a massive airdrop campaign where people can basically play for free. We'll get into the specific game modes, but you can basically play certain game modes for free and earn some zinc. And so talk a little bit about the airdrop campaign design, please.
Yeah, I mean there's several different Star Atlas game mechanics that you can engage in that will earn you a proportional share of this 10% total token allocation that's going to the initial Zinc Origin campaign. Again, as you know, Virtuwul, we ran an alpha season that allowed us to test out a lot of these mechanics and really battle harden them over the previous 6 weeks. But in effect, there, as of right now, there's I think 6 mechanics that you can engage in, all Star Atlas centric, that let you earn ZXP experience points towards your Z profile. From the free to play aspect, and maybe moving from kind of the least value producing up to the most value producing. So the first of which is HoloSim, which is our full free to play version of Sage. That lives in browser, lower fidelity, 2D RTS MMO on chain. Um, Now, there's certainly ways that you can enhance the amount of XP that you get from that through things like purchasing the battle pass in HoloSim specifically. But if you don't want to spend any money, you can get into HoloSim, play the game, and earn some ZXP. The next free to play aspect would be engaging in Unreal Engine gameplay modes like racing and arena shooter. Once again, there are ways to enhance the amount of XP that you get in Unreal Engine, which directly translates into higher XP in Zinc as well. And that would be notably purchasing crew of various rarities. So if you own a legendary crew, you get an XP boost in Unreal Engine. That translates directly into an XP boost in Zinc. Otherwise, it does get into more purchasing components. So things like buying Atlas and Polis and staking those in the lockers at the DAO. That will give you both of those, either Polis or Atlas or the combination of the two, will give you a fairly sizable amount of ZXP. I probably should have mentioned, trying to go from least to most. Claim stakes was a new addition for the Zinc Origin campaign. So if you own claim stakes and you enlist those in faction claims, as you're producing resources, so you're earning value off of those claim stakes, you're also earning ZXP. And then additionally, you can also purchase game assets from us on the primary marketplace, and that's the most valuable mechanic with the highest multiplier. So for every dollar you spend, there's a certain amount of ZXP you get. And then on top of that, we have our premium subscription plans. That's the Zinc Club with the Alpha, Aura, Apex tiers at $10, $20, and $30 per month, and each of those has an associated ZXP multiplier. So anywhere from 1.25x up to 2x, and the daily check-ins, which can give you an additional 25% multiplier.
A couple of things I want to highlight, and we're going to show some UE5 in just a minute. But first of all, you can just go play UE5, earn some ZXP, and you can also earn something called ink. And ink is a resource that you can sell to Star Atlas players. So I've been buying ink. A lot of people are buying ink. So you're actually earning on 2 levels. And again, you don't need to buy a crew. However, as Michael said, if you go to Tensor, and I'll drop all the links in the description. If you go to Tensor and you buy a legendary crew, and right now they're selling for maybe 80 to 100 bucks, you'll get a 25% boost to your ZXP and your ink earnings. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, the shooter is a blast. Racing is a blast. And then there's some new game modes that we're going to show in just a second that are coming very soon that are incredible as well. And then HoloSim is a free-to-play 4X strategy game. It's basically Sage on steroids. People can play the game, experience what Sage is like, what C4 is going to be like, and have a lot of fun. A lot of people got really hooked and addicted to HoloSim, which is, what you want. And same thing on UE5. A lot of people are just grinding and playing racers and UE5 shooter modes, as much as they possibly can. Shout out to Onizuka, who I think was logged in the most hours in UE5.
Yeah, and that's what I think is really powerful about this ZINK campaign. And we designed the Origin season specifically around the synergy between Star Atlas and ZINK, given the roots both emerging from Automata, our studio. And maybe if I make just a quick side note, we definitely see this evolving over time, wherein different projects launching on ZINK are incorporating their own value into the ZINK Club membership, into various airdrop campaigns, and into growth strategies for themselves. So this is really a starting point, but it was we have this great opportunity to promote and drive and funnel users into Star Atlas as a way of earning this ZINK token distribution, but at the same time, ZINK benefits substantially from having Sage C4 being the first product and application to run on the network. And we were just talking about volume of transactions and the potential there. Well, ZINK is going to be bootstrapped with Sage C4 and solve the quote unquote cold start problem and have significant, and maybe more than just about every other blockchain out there except for Solana itself, natively on day one. So that's really great synergy between the two. But what I think is really powerful here about the campaign is that simply engaging in Star Atlas is also earning you value. So there's layers and layers of value that we're producing. You mentioned ink, with respect to HoloSim, that's being able to participate in the leaderboard and earn some rewards from the leaderboard if you spend time and are dedicated to competing over the course of the season. Claim stakes, you're earning resources that have value. Sage, you're obviously earning Atlas as you play. The lockers, when you're locked, you're earning Polis emissions, plus unlocking the ability to vote and participate in governance. And on the Atlas side, also reducing marketplace fees depending on the locker that you're the locker tier that you're in. So there's already significant value that you can extract just by engaging in the Star Atlas mechanics. and now we're adding the layer of the Zinc token airdrop on top of that. So feels pretty good from my standpoint.
Yeah, Zinc's a massive win no matter what happens. I mean, it's going to be a massive win for existing Star Atlas players, and like you said, all the layers and the player profile elements could be very attractive to other projects. So let's take a quick look at some UE5 footage here that was released yesterday.
So yeah, you'll come in as yourself, whatever you choose. And since I'm here, let's look at these new weapons. So I look at the rocket launcher first. Whoops. So nice, awesome new rocket launcher. Nothing to shoot at, but I'm out of weapon or ammo. Actually, I think I could. Can I use the codes here? No, this is not like. Right. Yeah, rocket launcher is awesome. It's beastly. I mean, it's. Oh, here we go. Hacker is in here. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, that was awesome. Obviously, beautiful gameplay. You know, I think the movement. I mean, the complement. We have a lot of people playing UE5 shooter, and they've been playing shooters forever, and the most common complement is around movement, where the jetty pack, the palm boosters, the boobies, all of these things, and it's really intuitive. You know, I had some friends come over a few weeks ago, and they played Call of Duty primarily, and they had never played this, and within 2 minutes they had a hang of it. So, you know, kudos to the UE5 team for really creating something that, you know, it's kind of like poker. Takes 5 minutes to learn, a lifetime to master. I think that's what you guys have achieved here on the UE5 viewer side.
I think it's worth emphasizing here, and a lot of our community already knows this, but you know, in fairness, the shooter modes and even the racing modes, these aren't fully fleshed out individual games, but that's also not our ambition, is to build a full-on racing game or a full-on arena shooter game. These are foundational building blocks towards the development of mechanics that are going to be necessary throughout the MMO gameplay experience. And so the movement that you're referencing, what we're doing is refining movement gameplay that will, again, be critical for how you play the game in the future. Now, we've been able, I think, to build some fun experiences around it, but certainly these are not fully polished game modalities that are intended to compete with the likes of COD or Battlefield or something like that. You know, this is, we want to first release something that gives people an experience in the game so they can continuously engage in it. We want to reward people, and we want people to get emotionally invested in the visual identity of Star Atlas. And so with this release, with all of the skin updates, you know, I think that's a pretty big motivator. That's kind of driving crew. You're getting the Unreal Engine XP multiplier, plus you get to look at a really cool crew member. Those effectively become skins in the game. And so, you know, I like where we're at, but just want to note that these are really just building blocks towards the larger cohesive version of Star Atlas that incorporate all of the mechanics we're building and releasing in these mini games right now.
And again, you guys need more kudos around giving us playable game slices as you're building the mega vision, right? I mean, you guys could have just hid in a room for 10 years and come out with the game, but the other benefit of releasing these game slices is that you guys get a ton of feedback from the community. So you guys iterate constantly based on that feedback. So every single layer gets better based on actual player feedback. And I think that's a big challenge sometimes with product development. I've built a lot of products in my career, and a lot of times you're building it in a vacuum, and you release it, and then there's things that you miss. There's things you didn't think about. There's feedback that you never even imagined, and then you're like, well, shit, you know. So the iterative releases and feedback and updates, I think, is a really powerful way to build this type of product. So kudos.
Yeah, thank you. The feedback, I can't overstate the significance of the feedback. It is really helpful in how we evolve and refine the product over time. Obviously, the other side of that coin is it definitely opens us up to criticism, and I think in some cases there's a misunderstanding of what it is that we're building and why, and what we're releasing and what it's intended to accomplish. And so balancing those two elements is that's you know what we need to be able to do internally is understand when the feedback is actually contributory to improving the product versus this is criticism from someone who doesn't necessarily understand that this is not a full product. This is a mini game that lets us test movement, for example, that we can polish and refine and then incorporate into, again, the wider full vertical of the game.
Let's take a look at the racer, which, man, this map blew my mind. So this is a new map called Exonade. Absolutely gorgeous.
But this is really a stunning. I love this kind of pit stop area, starting zone. It's just so epic, and this looks so cool. So
major improvements on this, Danny.
Yeah, I was watching the Nord stream, and I'm like, man, I wish you guys had the new map. Why do you guys wish streaming it? Because it's just night and day. Like, spend some time appreciating this. It's huge. It's beautiful work by the environment team and the level designer. You guys are killing it. Just really showing what we can do. So let me pull up this looks awesome. Yeah. Let me just take it for a spin. Cool mid HUD. Like that. You guys have all probably pretty familiar with the map. Anyone's been playing with it. But yeah, here's another look at a more polished version of, I'm sure I can speak for them. They would have wanted a little more time to push on certain things, but it's in a really good spot. So we're happy to release and allow people to play it at this fidelity. So yeah, check it out. Beautiful water, beautiful, again, the work done here, you can see some of these structures we can take back into Agoni CSS, right? So it's all building on that asset library for Oni, specifically Sagian. Like some of these tabs will kind of look like this. There's still some stages we can push it further, but I mean, it's cool to start getting a sense of, you've seen some areas in Oni CSS that kind of look like this, in blockout form, and now you can kind of get a sense of what the final look will be. It's all building blocks, and we may as well have some fun along the way. So that's the point of this. It's always best to put it in like a real scenario, like an actual playable game. So what is the moment to moment, like the gamer is experiencing, and the periphery, all that kind of thing, to realize how much effort we should put into the different types of assets. Like, look at these waterfalls, like this cool mist, and that just adds a lot to this section. But it's not a waterfall game, so you're not gonna like make it like water physics and all that. So these are the things that putting it in a real actual playable game mode reveals for us along the way.
Absolutely amazing. Huge shout out to my knight, King Buddha, who won the first major racing tournament a few days ago. He's so good. They thought he was cheating. They had him rerun the race and film his hands. And when they saw what he was doing, they said, yeah, okay, this guy's legit. So he is an amazing gamer, and he will kick all of your asses in UE5. So yeah, he is my boy.
Very cool.
But yeah, amazing.
I just want to say our environments, our art, I genuinely think is unrivaled, particularly in Web3. But I would put our game assets, game design, and art production up against the biggest and best studios out there. But absolutely stunning, beautiful environments that we're rolling out.
I think that was the main thing that sucked me into Star Atlas. To go back to the beginning, like Danny's sense of aesthetics and his vision is, to me, it's next level. Like it's a world I want to live in. That's the truth. And it's amazing to see it get fleshed out, layer by layer, and it's beautiful. It's awesome. So let's get into, I think this was the biggest surprise of the day. Go ahead.
I just want to say, and at the risk of sounding like Fugazi, you're in sales, this phrase, but you don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle. And to me, the art is the sizzle, and the gameplay is the steak. And the reality for us is, in order for us to cook that steak, we obviously need to crowdfund as we go. And so I'm not surprised that pulled you in. It's what's pulled a lot of people in. But at the end of the day, that fully immersive, gorgeous sandbox open world MMO, that is our North Star. That's what we're building towards. And yeah, having something beautiful to look at is a great way to attract users into the ecosystem.
So let's get into what was I think the biggest surprise of the day yesterday during the town hall. Do you want to frame what we're about to see here as far as Siege? Or should we just look at the footage and talk about it?
Yeah, I don't know that there's too much framing that I need to do outside of, I would communicate that this is kind of the next step of progress in our roadmap, and this is going to be a comprehensive upgrade and new gameplay mode that we're rolling out. And even this is an iterative step towards something larger that we call conquest mode. But we'll let you take it away with the video, and then we can elaborate from there.
Pushed and pulled in different directions over time. I just see my position that I was in before. Yeah. I guess it was in the same position, or just different spot. So yeah, awesome. Want to hear some feedback on the new flight model, and yeah, this is LAR4. It's a mining node. And like I said, these guys have really outdone themselves. Like this cool massive asteroid and the structure built around it. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. I just take some time to take it in, because these guys have really pushed it beyond. Look at this stuff. She's brilliant. I didn't expect that train. That was a cool new bonus.
Does the train run you over?
I don't know. I didn't try that. Okay, so hey, Hacker. Let's see if I can get run over. Ah. Oh, I don't know if it knocked me right on to some replay. Hey, check it out. Check out this structure. One of the things I'll say about this map, it's extremely well tuned for this flight model. So the way, like, all these corridors and ways to sneak around, and even through the actual asteroid, some cool crystals. Uh-oh, yeah, okay, that's just a little bitch. Yeah, it's extremely well tuned. I think it's like one of the best. I would say it's the best dogfight arena map I've ever seen. It's so extremely well tuned. So you'll see it once you get in and start playing with it. It's just going to work super well for multiplayer dogfighting arena. There's all sorts of little things you can get into, ways to escape, ways to get into little dogfights. So have fun with it. It's an extremely beautiful map. Now, with the mode, with Siege mode, it wasn't intended to just be a team deathmatch. That was just where we settled on to that So this is part of a objective. So the siege mode that we're working
This is
to is
huge, guys.
actually,
This is huge. Everybody pay attention.
yeah. So the siege mode is actually an objective-based game mode. And what Mike's getting at is the siege is also a building block towards another bigger one called conquest. But let me just first talk about siege. So siege will have actually some roles in this game and some objectives. What it's going to be is we'll have a couple of C9s on either side, and your goal is to defend the C9 for your team. And there are a couple of structures as well that you can get some objects like repair kits and re-ammos and turret structures that like anti-spacecraft turret structures. So you own the structures, kind of like a zones game mode, and then as you own these structures, they output some of those crates that you can use to either repair your C9 or you get like this extra points to choose different types of ships with different abilities. Like one's faster, one's more of a tank, one's more of a cargo freighter, and you use them and as different roles to achieve the goal of taking over the enemy's C9, destroying it. So that brings together a lot of role-based ship play into one arena, repairing, damaging, freighting, and ownable objectives like taking over little zones. So that adds a lot for us to start tuning the ships, tuning how the different roles interact with each other in a nice, tight, close quarter. And then the next step for that is now we have all the pieces in place for our arena shooter on foot with all the handheld weapons and the dogfight, which and the dogfight for in-flight, flight mode roles and dogfighting combat. And then, one thing I forgot to say in the racing. And so the last piece is the racing. So that's the hover tuning, the hover speeds and movement and combat. So racing now also has combat. So you can shoot your other players in the race. And so it's effectively combat racing. So that adds a nice change up to how those game modes play out. So as I was getting to conquest, I said we have racing, so hover. We've got the dogfight, so flight mode, and then we've got the on foot for the arena shooter, which all blend in together to something that we internally just call conquest mode. And conquest mode merges all those together, where because in this mode I can't land and get out, so this is just purely flight. But conquest brings it all together. You can fly, hover, on foot with objectives. And you have much bigger maps, still using some of these art zoos that we've established. And if you guys have played like Battlefront 2 or even Battlefield, similar kind of approach, just using all of our Star Atlas kind of assets and highly refined game modes, I would say.
Pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I think Danny made a number of great points. I mean, what he was demonstrating and communicating there was, again, this concept of building blocks. We release minigame features, we test out mechanics, we refine those mechanics, we incorporate those into the next iteration of whatever it is that we release. And so siege mode will be the next iteration and minigame that we roll out. That has a couple of stages. That gets into conquest mode, which incorporates both on foot and vehicle combat in an immersive map like you're seeing with LAR4 there. But really excited about this one. And what's really cool about LAR4 is, we get the question of, I thought Star Atlas was a space game we have arena shooter and we have racing. I thought it was a space game. Well, now we get to actually bring people out into space, into a new mode of gameplay.
Yeah. Speaking of space, it's Macho Man once said space is the place. Yeah. Let's talk about C4. So C4 is going to be, in my opinion, the most in-depth, complex 4X strategy game ever built. Maybe give us a little bit of your take on it, what excites you about it, and then I'm going to share the SES Galaxy map just to give people a bit of an idea. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, C4, let's just first define it. So it's combat, it's claim stakes, it's crafting halves, and it's council rank. To me, the the two most exciting components of that are council rank, which is the progression system and skill tree system. So as you're earning XP, you're going to unlock various skills that let you expand your skill tree, that lets you really refine and specialize in various aspects of gameplay itself. This is going to lead to a massive diversity of play styles and would be less reliant on what assets do you own and how many assets do you own, and more dependent on how do you specialize in your gameplay itself. And so I think council rank is one of the biggest pieces of this, and then the combat systems, which I think that's going to drive dopamine levels like we haven't seen before. We actually have a sense of how immersive combat can be because of how we've implemented it into HoloSim itself. But one of the challenges that we faced, or obstacles that we faced with, say, Starbased, for example, where we could immediately plug combat into Starbased if we wanted to. However, there are no restrictions on your ability to navigate the map and attack people while they might be passively or in an automated fashion earning off of their assets. To me, that would be a big net negative to the ecosystem, because a lot of our users are very much motivated and driven by financial incentives. Without any restrictions or boundaries or borders on the map at all, it creates a pretty chaotic and uncertain environment for people to deploy their game assets in Starbase specifically. But we have the concept of regions and blockaded regions in C4. And this was absolutely critical to me. This is why I've pushed back on introducing combat into Starbased, is at least with C4, with the region system, there are mechanics that players need to engage and progress through in order to unlock a territory, to be able to engage in combat in that system. And so a player can have some degree of confidence, if not 100%, at least some high degree of confidence that, depending on the region that they're operating in, that they can still operate passively. And the way I see this really working is, while you're engaged in active gameplay, you might go on attack missions where you're invading regions, or you're attacking the blockades of a currently blockaded region, with the intent of capturing it and destroying any of the opposing fleets that exist within that region. But when you're ready to, quote unquote, sign off for the night, and I'll say there is no logging out in Star Atlas. This is intrinsic to the fully on-chain architecture. Your game assets are always active on the map. But when you want to sign off for the evening or the day or your play session, you can just move those assets back into a safer blockaded region, let them work on your behalf. And so we protect the integrity of being able to earn financial incentives while also giving people the opportunity to engage in more active gameplay as they go. No, I think those are the two most powerful components, not to diminish what we're doing with crafting hubs and claim stakes. I think claim stakes is going to be an incredibly cool, mostly passive mechanic, but it's almost pure production and logistics from claim stakes. And there's a ton of deep mechanics on how those are going to work. But yeah, you've got the map pulled up here. This is going to be really immersive gameplay on how you engage in Sage Star Atlas Golden Era as we move forward.
Yeah, the map is mind blowing, and you can see spin it around. I'll click on a.
Now I should caveat that this is just a Galaxy viewer that you have pulled up right now. This is not the design of the map in Sage C4. I would love if we could get to a point where this is what the actual in-browser gameplay looks like, but there's a ton of technical challenges in being able to deliver this type of experience to players. So, but nevertheless, this is available in the Sage editor suite, ses.staratlas.com. You can access this, and it does give you a sense of the map layout and map design. It's not going to be the same graphical interface that you get in Sage C4.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's going to be a vast world, over 100 resources. I think 4,000 plus recipes. We're going to have combat, territorial control. Almost every ship in the game is going to have unique utility. So yeah, I think there's never been anything like it in terms of complexity that I'm aware of. So incredibly exciting.
I was speaking to gameplay mechanics, but you just brought up a great point, which is the economy itself and the diversity of the economy and the number of resources and the number of recipes. And all of this ties right back into council rank and your ability to specialize in a particular category of production. You know this, Virtuwul, but our ultimate goal is to create a universe where earnings potential is driven by peer-to-peer trade, and to eventually mature out of this emission curve or this subsidy curve where we have inflation as a way of rewarding players for gameplay. Now, caveat, there is a potential for a long-term perpetual inflation rate of Atlas currency into the game, but where we achieve true stability and equilibrium in the economy is when players are producing resources and selling them to other players, or otherwise producing assets, crafting ships, for example, and selling them to other players. And this relies on two factors: one, having really fun gameplay that people want to engage in, and having at least some proportion of our user base that isn't playing because they're trying to maximize their earnings, but because they're having fun, and that are willing to spend a little bit of money in the game. So when you have players that are perhaps in conquest mode that don't want to have to go out and mine resources and and craft items, but are actually willing to purchase those resources and items from other players so that they can just go in and have fun. And that might translate to, hey, maybe they're spending $10 a month or $20 a month. That kind of conforms with the conventional MMO model where you're paying a subscription fee to access the MMO itself. What's different about us, what's different about Web3, I would say broadly, but really specific to us, is we're not sitting at the middle of that and saying, okay, all of this new money that's coming into the game is going direct to us as a studio. That's bypassing us entirely, and it's going direct to the peer-to-peer markets.
It's the future of gaming, and it is inevitable. I'm wearing a shirt that says that right now. Let's talk a little bit about, I did a survey last year. I shared the data with you and Danny around the game mode that the people are the most excited about, and it is the MMO component. So I'm going to share a little bit of footage about, it's kind of the beginning of the MMO side of it. And yeah, let's take a look at some footage, and then we can talk about some really exciting things that you hinted about yesterday that I think is really going to be massive. So this is called Project Galia.
So this is late in the intro mission. Just quickly, background: you've crash landed on this planet. You were sent to this system to investigate an HRZ artifact. I won't spoil too much about that, but as soon as you arrive, you're ambushed by the Jorvik. You have to jettison, and you land in an escape pod on this planet, and I'm trying to get off this planet. We kind of showed this in the brew, where I went into this cave to mine some luminite that I needed. So I've mined that luminite, and now I'm going to head back to this abandoned claim stake that we found. and to craft something we need to get off the planet. So that's where we're at.
So, assuming we actually make it off this planet, where are we headed? The whole system is overrun.
Nova Station, Hectaria's main starbase. I've been listening to the systems chatter, and it seems it's the one station left that hasn't fallen to the Jorvik. They've dug in and are holding the Jorvik at bay, but who can say for how long?
I've gathered all my materials. I'm going to head to this crafting bench. I need this Luminite power cell.
Excellent. Now just pop that thing in the generator, and the landing pad should have power.
All right, generator is this way.
Now we may have one final problem. You can't just repair your bike for free. The system requires payment.
How is that a problem? We've got plenty of Atlas.
Star systems this far out don't always use Atlas. Hectaria has its own currency. The good news is there's a vending machine here, so we can sell some items we don't need and hopefully earn enough for the repairs. If not, I spotted some more copper nodes out back.
So this is a little vending machine I can sell. So if I click and drag an item, this is some extra luminite I mined. I can sell it. Don't need this copper.
That should do it. Now take your bike to the landing pad and pull up the station menu.
I'm going to stop it there because I know we got like 14 minutes left, and there's a couple of key topics I want to get into, but pretty mind blowing. Again, these are all just really small slices of what's coming down the line. Anything you want to add as far as Project Galia?
No, I mean there was a lot to Brad's presentation there. Just encourage everyone to go watch the Star Atlas TV recording of the brew, which was the town hall, which was 3 hours. But a lot to what Brad has worked on, largely as a one-man army on that. So very impressive work. But this helps us achieve kind of the onboarding experience for users who are most interested in Unreal Engine, because now we have a tutorial system in place and an immersive mission system that people can go through, learn the ropes, learn how to play, and start to get more deeply involved in Star Atlas. So I think that's really exciting stuff on the Galia side as well.
All right. Let's talk about something you hinted, and hopefully you can reveal a little bit more. You know, when you're on this podcast, I got to press you a little bit. You hinted that you've got a partner that is going to build a planet. So what else can you share about that? Because to me, that was one of the, you touched on it briefly, but that was one of the biggest news bits you released yesterday.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this relationship, and I've formed a great connection with the CEO of this studio. He happens to live very close to me, and got connected as a referral through one of our ex-employees. And I think on a personal level, we relate quite nicely. But I do have to be conservative in what I share at the moment. We are looking to make a formal announcement on the partnership as we get into the new year. But these are guys and a team that are deeply experienced in this concept of tangential world development, and what that means is really co-creation of a game experience with a core studio or primary studio developing it. It's effectively a licensing system, and tangential worlds is something that we've talked about for a long time, wherein we can license our planet tech, give these third-party studios the ability to develop out a custom environment with custom gameplay mechanics, custom game loops, with custom economics, but ultimately having those experiences live within the universe of Star Atlas. What's really cool about a space game is we have this infinite universe that can be developed, and within that infinite universe, we can effectively have games within our game, and that's what a tangential world is a custom planet that somebody's built that lives in that Star Atlas universe that can be navigated to by any of our existing and future players. I guess I'll make one final point on this, and this is something that you and I kind of discussed prior to the call or prior to this interview, but what I think is really positive for us is this is a non-direct compensation relationship. And again, I don't want to get into any of the specifics of that, but effectively, this is a team that sees the potential in Star Atlas and is willing to invest their own time, capital, and resources into building this planet out. And so they're essentially, in a way, an extension of our own production team, but using their own resources to do it. And of course, there's ways that they do get compensated, but I just think it's very encouraging to see somebody, or to have somebody that sees the potential in us and is willing to make that capital investment and build out these experiences.
Yeah, that's massive. Again, having someone who's been operating in the space on a very, very deep level for a long time, willing to spend their own capital, resources, expertise to basically help build out the universe of Star Atlas is incredibly bullish. So, and it's very excited to hear more about it in 2026. Can you maybe hint around when we could hear more?
Not just yet, only because there's one piece that kind of a back-end system that we need to get in place to fully activate them. But if I had to guess, I would say sometime in Q1 next year, we'd make the official announcement.
Awesome. Let's touch on AI. In my own company, I built a crack team of developers that are building some really next gen tools. I just want to explain what a MCP is, a model context protocol. And this is really, most people at this point have used LLMs, ChatGPT or Grok or whatever. What an MCP is you can start chaining things together using things like N8N plus 4 or 5 different LLMs and create workflows. Essentially, you're creating a factory that can create different types of assets, whether it's design, videos, copy, and in your case, obviously, there's UE5 assets and things. So yeah, maybe talk about how you guys are using AI, and let's fast forward 12, 24 months. What do you think is possible in terms of acceleration?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm probably the most behind the curve on adoption of various forms of AI technology, but that's not true of the rest of the team. Both Jacob and Danny, our co-founders, our CPO and CTO, are some of the most advanced guys that I've seen that are working with various forms of AI tech today. And that's starting with the technology piece of this under Jacob's camp. For virtually everything that we're building today, there is a big movement within the team to embrace leveraging AI coding tools to accelerate the pace at which we can build and ship code. Now, a lot of that is back-end stuff, but that can actually work for blockchain programs as well, and to some extent being leveraged on front-end systems. But really what we're doing is encouraging the team and providing the tools to the team to be able to leverage these in their day-to-day processes so that they can accelerate the amount of code that gets released. For the people that have embraced it the most, we might see a 10 to 20x increase in the amount of code production today. That's today. Now, it's not without its own criticisms and risks in using, but again, we are fully embracing that on the technology side on the team now. And then even on the product side, depending on the content that we're interested in producing, it's already proving out how it can be useful. Chip, for example, and Brad, for example, are leveraging AI coding tools to convert blueprints from Unreal Engine itself into C++ code. which allows us to modify and customize much more than you can with the blueprint systems. Where we're not seeing any immediate use, where we don't think it's necessarily to the level that we want it to be yet, is in full-on art asset production for UE5 just yet. But I mean, the space is evolving so quickly. I think probably within a year, and that might be a conservative estimate, we can start employing the tech more comprehensively across the entire company.
You joked that Danny's probably going to be able to vibe code the entire universe pretty soon. So
there's some other special projects that we have going on, and Danny's kind of one-manning it. I mean, the whole Sage editor suite, which again is a pretty comprehensive application with a number of different tools that people can go in to analyze Sage C4. It was one-manned by him over the course of a couple of weeks. And truly, I mean, being the CEO of technology companies for the better part of 10 years now, that tool itself would probably have taken a team of 5 to 10 developers 9 months to a year to build. So for one person with the capabilities of leveraging AI to build that over a couple of weeks gives you a sense of the magnitude at which you can accelerate the development process.
Two quick things I want to touch on. One is the state of Web3 gaming. It has been a challenging year, to say the least. I think we are in the trough of disillusionment. And just the only story I want to share is in 2014, I think I had 150 million or so Dogecoins. And I remember just dumping them for fractions of pennies, because I'm like, meme coins will never be anything. Now, it did take 6 years. I think it was 2020, 2021 where Doge exploded. And, that I lost a lot of money there. I lost a lot of money selling XRP too early. And I feel that's where we're at with Web3 gaming, specifically Star Atlas, where, the charts don't look great, but it's just a matter of time before the sentiment changes. How much time? No one can predict that, right? Timing is the hardest thing to predict in any market. But we'd love to hear maybe some quick thoughts. And then I just got one final question for you after that.
Yeah, I'll be relatively brief here. You and I did chat about this a bit again before the conversation here, but maybe worth repeating. I actually think, and you and I have both been in the crypto space for a long time, 13 years for me, and it feels like a very transformative stage in crypto. On the one hand, you have this institutional adoption and institutional investment vehicles and accessibility to crypto to retail via brokerage platforms at a scale that we've never seen before. And we see we're seeing regulation start to be not only permissive but embracing of crypto and blockchain technology. But what we still kind of exist within, at least from the application level, is kind of this echo chamber, this closed group of people who are very passionate of crypto itself, that isn't permeating into the wider global audience. Maybe people who are looking to invest in crypto are getting access to it, but those people are not converting into users of various applications. Now, with all of that said, gaming is kind of getting the worst of it right now. It's very much out of the core narrative. A lot of the narrative that has been successful has been pure speculation, gambling, mostly, and memes to an extent, which is really a form of gambling. But what I genuinely believe to this day, and what we believed at the beginning, and our thesis at the beginning, is that gaming itself is probably the single best application that will lead to the mass onboarding of mainstream into crypto, because we're releasing applications that are attractive and entertaining that people want to engage in. And so it's just a matter of time until a product like Star Atlas hits the market that's really attractive to a wide audience, that starts to bring people into the space.
Inevitable. Last question. What are you the most excited about in regards to Star Atlas for 2026 personally?
There's so much. It's really difficult to say, but I would say Sage C4. I would say that. I know that's probably what the community is most excited about. But
Mhm.
honestly, I think if I look at the totality of the possibilities of 2026, I would say this conquest mode, because conquest mode, when we get there, is going to be the most cohesive version of Star Atlas that ties together everything we've been building in Unreal Engine, everything we've been building in Sage, all of the economic enhancements and all of the economic possibilities. And so this crossover potential that caters to many different play styles, whether that is the 4X RTS player, the economic incentivized player, or the deeply immersive MMO Unreal Engine player, all of these things come together. And I think that would position us to have an official public access release that we could market to the mainstream that could really see explosive growth in Star Atlas. So I'm going to say Conquest with the caveat that there's a lot of uncertainty around when and whether or not we can get that shipped in 2026. But it is a real possibility, especially if we start to see some early success in 2026 that can allow us to scale our team up.
Or scale AI. Thank you, Michael, for your time, your energy. Super appreciative of you hopping on. Happy holidays to you and the entire team. Hope you guys recharge and have a great holiday, bro. Thank you.
Same to you, Virtuwul. Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's, and thanks for having me on.
The universe is on the edge of war. After the cataclysm, everything changed. Earth is gone. The remaining humans, the alien species, and the sentient robots are heading towards a galactic collision. The battle for supremacy and dominance is going to ignite the greatest war of all time. Which side will you choose? Which side will you fight? Choose wisely, because your life and the fate of the galaxy depend on it.